everyone, and welcome to a special mini CodCast. We've got Tim Miller, our South Australian Operations Manager, coming to you live from sunny South Australia. Just put out an announcement in regard to the gazetting of the Stage 1, what we call them the Stage 1 approvals. It is really the South Australian approval scoping process. Here is Tim to actually tell you what this is all about and why this is so fantastically exciting.
Yeah, good to see you, Chris. We've gone into detail on this scoping process on a previous podcast, CodCast, but basically this is a really, really important regulatory milestone for CODA. The DEMS, Department of Energy and Mining scoping process is set up for exploration companies to scope those risks that might be involved with, or that are involved with coming to a mine, and that's everything from environment, community, heritage, etc. Everything that includes the start and the getting to the mining process itself, the mining process, and even closure of the mine. So what we do is we first of all look at all the risks associated with starting a mine in South Australia and covering those topics I just mentioned. And from that, we come up with a baseline that's studies. They're going to help us either mitigate and control those risks, I guess. And the great thing about this scoping report, it's been a long process. It's been nearly a 2-year process to work through it all, is that now we've reached an agreement, an understanding with the South Australian government where we have these study scopes gazetted. There's an understanding that this is what it's going to take for us to eventually put in for our mining lease application.
And this is a fairly new initiative in South Australia, isn't it? Most jurisdictions don't do this. There's a list of approvals that you go through, you kind of do the approvals, and the government comes back and says, actually, we want this as well. Or this is more of an actual binding document between us and the government, having gone through a very significant process to say, right, based on your situation, Elizabeth Creek, as opposed to other places. So this is a specific and tailored approvals process, which then becomes a clear and binding document between us that says, right, this is what you've got to go and do. If you do it, then you should be approved into your mine. So it should be a lot more stable, and it's taken a lot more work than it normally would to get to this point. Is that about the best summary we have?
That's a pretty good summary right there. And I think you hit the nail on the head with that tailored scope of studies. And that's really what it is. And so the South Australian government looked at, especially with juniors and the work involved and that limited spend that smaller companies have and working their way towards a mining lease application, and what were some of the hurdles. And of course, money and time is precious. And so having this scope of studies already laid out, it means we will limit or eliminate rework. So we know what we need to do. We know what we need to get as far as to achieve these baselines. And so we were not going to get ready to submit a mining lease application in 18 months, 2 years, or whatever it might be. And then the government turn around and say, oh, well, actually, you needed A, B, and C. Well, we've done something completely different. So for us, it means that our time and money and effort are really focused on that tailored set of studies for the Elizabeth Creek project.
Yeah, look, in every single part of a study, rework is the enemy. And so having this confidence that we're going into what is obviously one of the very most important parts of developing a project, having that confidence that we've gone through, it's a 300-400 page document, it's a huge amount of work that's gone to date. Obviously, we've had the input from JBS&G, our environmental consultants, are fantastic to work with as well. And we've got to this point where we know exactly what we've got to do. This gives us a lot of confidence. We'll completely avoid rework. We know what we need to do. And I guess your job, Tim, is to go and do it at this point. And obviously, quite a few of these parts have already been done, of course, and are already in progress.
Yeah, that's the great part about, or the way we've gone about it. And yes, we spend a lot of time on this scoping study when questions might have been raised about, we've got the PFS running there and where does this all fit in? The fact that we have this scoping study now, the scoping report done, and we're running through our pre-feasibility study, we don't need to waste any time on wondering what studies we need to do to feed into the PFS and to feed into that mining lease application. We know what they are. We're already doing them. We're already building these baselines. And the great thing is that because of, say where Emmy Bluff is situated, we don't necessarily have to worry about noise as a factor. We're not a quarry on the outskirts of Adelaide, for example. So Dem came back and said basically the studies that need to surround that can be desktop driven. How great. That's a massive cost saving and time saving for us. So all of these things that we've been putting in place, these study scopes, are now laser focused on achieving that mining lease application. I think there's something to remember too, that I was just going to say things change. So while this is locked, while this scope is locked to a point, things do change over time. So obviously our processing might change, our mine closure tactics might change, and that's okay. They can all be reworked. We're not locked in forever, so to speak. We can rework this scoping report and come up with a new set if need be further down the line.
Look, huge kudos to you, Tim. I mean, I've seen with my own eyes just how in-depth this report is, how much time and effort you've put in with JBS&G and various consultants, and, awesome work, awesome achievement of this stage 1 approvals. And yeah, looking forward to keeping this one going as well. There's a bit of wood to chop still, but we know what we've got to do. We've got the scope locked in, and we will go and do it.
My pleasure. We'll roll the sleeves up and get into it.